Hiya, my name's Gráinne Conole from the Open University, and I'm part of an international consortium called OPAL, which is looking at open educational practices. And I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about some work we're doing and invite you to take part in a spotlight on open educational practices that we're kicking off now. Essentially, we think there's a problem. Despite the fact that we've seen a massive increase in the open educational resource movement in recent years, funded by some really big players such as the Hewlett Foundation and UNESCO, and as a result we've seen a really exciting array of OER initiatives arise worldwide. We haven't really seen a major impact on practice. The rhetoric behind the OER movement is very exciting. The idea of creating and sharing educational resources, of making them freely available, of being able to develop a vibrant and international community of sharing and scholarly discussion around OERs. Yet in reality the actual impact on practice is very limited. Yes, some teachers and learners are of course using OER and recommend them as very valuable, but we're not seeing massive uptake of the use of these resources. And indeed, if you look at the issue about reusing, people taking other people's resources and reusing them in another context, that's even more limited. So why? Well, actually, understanding somebody else's resource, decontextualising it and then recontextualising it in a different context is actually quite a complex process. And if you add to that the kind of associated potential technical and organisational barriers, there are real problems and issues. So the question is, would a shift of focus from looking at the resources to the associated practices in terms of the creation, use and management of OER help? If we better understand those associated practices, can we then put in place mechanisms to help people better to use them? So that's the focus today. Can moving from a focus on OER to associated practices make a difference? So we'd like to invite you to take part in this discussion in the cloud workspace on the spotlight on open educational practices over the next week or so. And the kind of questions we'd like you to consider are the following. Firstly, would a shift from focusing on open educational resources to open educational practices lead to a better understanding, firstly, of what current practices are and the associated issues? And secondly, could it also lead to improvements in the quality and innovation of OER? And secondly, what are your thoughts on the dimensions that we've identified in terms of open educational practices and how might they be used? Further information on the background to this work, which includes the gathering of 60 case studies of existing open educational resources and initiatives, and the analysis of a set of associated dimensions for open educational practices, are available from the CloudWorks site. Thanks, and look forward to talking to you virtually.